Hey everyone, welcome back to 10 Reasons Why. Today, we're traveling back to the vast steppes of ancient Mongolia, a land of endless grasslands, powerful horses, and warriors who shaped world history. For the Mongols, archery wasn't just a skill, it was a way of life. It decided who survived, who ruled, and who built one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. In this video, we'll explore 10 powerful reasons why learning archery in ancient Mongolia was so important, and how this single skill changed the course of history. Life on the Mongolian steppe was harsh. With freezing winters, dry summers, and very little farmland, survival depended on hunting. The bow was the most reliable tool for providing food. From wild deer to gazelles, archery allowed the Mongols to feed their families and communities. But archery wasn't only about hunting. It was also about protecting herds from predators. Wolves, for example, often threatened livestock, and skilled archers could defend cattle, sheep, and horses from attack. Unlike farming societies that relied on crops, Mongolian nomads lived in a world where moving and adapting was key. The bow was light, portable, and effective in any terrain. From a young age, children practiced shooting targets while riding horses, so by the time they grew up, archery was second nature. Simply put, without archery, survival on the harsh steppe would have been nearly impossible. It was the foundation of daily life, long before it became a weapon of empire. When most people think of the Mongols, they imagine unstoppable warriors on horseback. And they're right, the Mongolian military became legendary not because of heavy armor or giant armies, but because of one thing: mounted archery. The Mongol composite bow was small but incredibly powerful, capable of shooting arrows with deadly force over 300 meters. Warriors could release arrows accurately while riding at full speed, something most armies of the time couldn't even imagine. This skill gave the Mongols an overwhelming advantage. European knights were weighed down by armor. Chinese infantry moved slowly in large formations, but Mongol horse archers could strike quickly, retreat, and strike again. Historians often say the bow was the most important weapon in the rise of the Mongol Empire. Without it, the Mongols might have remained a small nomadic tribe. With it, they became one of the most feared armies in history. Archery combined with horseback riding created the perfect balance of mobility and firepower. Mongol warriors could travel up to 100 miles in a single day, then engage enemies with rapid-fire arrows. No other army could move so far, so fast, and still fight so effectively. The mobility of Mongolian archers made them nearly impossible to pin down. When enemies advanced, the Mongols could ride away while still firing backward, a technique called the Parthian shot. This allowed them to damage enemies while retreating, then turn suddenly and counterattack. Mobility wasn't just a military advantage, it was also psychological. Enemies never knew when or where Mongol forces would appear. This constant pressure weakened morale and made entire kingdoms surrender without prolonged battles. In short, archery turned speed into a weapon. It made the Mongols masters of hit-and-run tactics, and it gave them dominance over much larger and slower armies. Archery was at the heart of the Mongol Empire's rise. Under Genghis Khan, small tribes united into a powerful force, and their mastery of mounted archery allowed them to conquer territories stretching from Asia to Europe. The bow gave the Mongols flexibility. They could fight in deserts, mountains, or open plains. Against fortified cities, they used flaming arrows. Against armored knights, they aimed for horses or weak points in armor. The bow was a universal weapon, adaptable to every challenge. Historians agree that without archery, the Mongol conquests would never have succeeded. Cavalry alone couldn't defeat large empires, but cavalry combined with deadly archery could. It allowed the Mongols to control trade routes, collect tribute, and build an empire that became the largest contiguous land empire in world history. Archery wasn't just a weapon of conquest, it was the engine of empire. Archery wasn't only practical, it became part of Mongolian identity. Even after conquests ended, the bow remained central to their culture. One of the oldest festivals in Mongolia, Naadam, celebrates the three manly skills: wrestling, horse racing, and archery. During Naadam, men, women, and even children compete in archery contests. The bows used in these festivals are traditional, handmade, and passed down through generations. The event isn't just a sport, it's a way of honoring ancestors and preserving history. In ancient Mongolia, archery skills were celebrated as a sign of strength and honor. Chiefs and leaders were often respected for their ability with a bow as much as for their wisdom. For the Mongols, archery wasn't just survival or warfare, it was pride, tradition, and heritage. Even today, Mongolian children grow up learning to shoot traditional bows. This living tradition shows just how deeply archery is woven into Mongolian culture. Learning archery in ancient Mongolia wasn't easy. It required focus, patience, and years of practice. Young children were trained to shoot while riding ponies, gradually improving their aim and balance. This discipline shaped their character long before they became warriors. Archery demanded control of the body and mind. A warrior had to stay calm under pressure, steady his breathing, and aim while moving at high speed. One mistake could mean missing the target, or losing the battle. This training went beyond war. It taught resilience, endurance, and concentration. Mongolian parents knew that if their children could master the bow, they could master any challenge in life. Discipline from archery wasn't just about fighting. It became a way of thinking, a mindset that prepared Mongols for leadership, strategy, and survival. In ancient Mongolia, the bow and horse were more than tools, they were symbols of identity. To be Mongol was to be a rider and an archer. These two skills defined their way of life. Songs, stories, and legends celebrated archers as heroes. Families passed down bows like treasures, and warriors were often buried with their weapons. The bow represented freedom, independence, and the spirit of the steppe. Mongols didn't build cities or castles. Their culture was built around movement, survival, and adaptability. The bow captured all of these values in a single object. It was light enough to carry, powerful enough to protect, and simple enough to unite tribes under one banner. Even today, Mongolia uses the bow as a national symbol, representing resilience and strength. Archery isn't just a skill, it's part of the Mongolian soul. Mongolian archers weren't just skilled, they were smart. One of their most famous tactics was the feigned retreat. In battle, Mongol warriors would pretend to flee, luring enemies into chasing them. As the enemy broke formation, Mongols would suddenly turn and unleash a storm of arrows. This strategy devastated armies that relied on rigid formations. Enemies who thought they had won were caught off guard and destroyed. Archery made this tactic possible. Without the ability to shoot accurately while retreating, the trick wouldn't work. But with their skill, Mongols could turn retreats into deadly traps. This clever use of archery showed that the bow wasn't just a weapon, it was a tool of strategy. It allowed the Mongols to outthink their opponents and win battles even when outnumbered. The Mongol Empire stretched from the deserts of Persia to the snowy mountains of Siberia. Few armies could fight effectively in such diverse environments, but Mongol archers could. Their composite bows were designed to withstand extreme conditions. They worked in freezing winters, scorching deserts, and high altitudes where other weapons failed. Archers adapted their strategies depending on the terrain, proving that flexibility was just as important as strength. In mountains, archers used elevated positions to rain arrows on enemies. In deserts, their speed allowed them to strike and retreat before opponents could respond. This adaptability made the Mongols nearly unstoppable across different landscapes. Archery wasn't just a military tool. It was the reason the Mongols could expand so far and maintain control over such a massive, diverse empire. Even though the Mongol Empire eventually declined, its archery legacy survived. Today, Mongolia still celebrates archery as part of its national identity. The Naadam festival continues, children still learn to shoot, and the bow remains a proud cultural symbol. But the influence spread far beyond Mongolia. Many cultures adapted Mongolian archery techniques, and historians argue that Mongol tactics changed the course of European and Asian warfare forever. Even modern horseback archery sports trace their roots back to the Mongols. Archery in Mongolia wasn't just a skill, it was a force that shaped history, inspired generations, and continues to echo in modern culture.